All right, so first one we had convert a decimal to a fraction. So as you're going through, if you didn't pick up on these, just write them down. I'm going to show you how to do it real quick. So for a fraction, or sorry, decimal to a fraction, just whatever your decimal is. So let's say it was 0.9. Then over on the left side, there's a little button that you click and your fraction shows up. So even if it's more complicated fractions, okay, so 0.35 would be 7/20ths or 35/100ths, but it will automatically reduce it to the simplest fraction. So type it in, click the little button, that's it. All right, second one, change the color of a line. So first you gotta type your line. There's a couple ways you can do it. The easiest is over on the left side where it has the color. You click and hold, and then you can pick your color. There's only 6 choices. Okay, you can also change the thickness of the line. You can change what type of line it is, but mainly we will use the color. All right, if it's a repeating decimal, so what you need to do for a repeating decimal is you need to type it in showing that it's repeating a few times until the fraction thing shows up. So like, notice it's there, but it's not repeating yet. So I'll just keep showing. Notice it disappeared, and now it's back. Okay. So then that answer, 4 out of 33, would be your repeating decimal. So a real common one, right? You know, like 1/3, or hopefully you know that 1/3 is 0.33 repeating. That's not 1/3 yet. Okay. You have to do it enough times so it disappears, and then it comes back. And then it will give you your repeating decimal. Make sure the fraction button disappears and then comes back. That's how you do repeating decimals to a fraction. All right. Fourth one, the easiest way for a square root. Down here, there's a little keyboard. It just has a square root button. And then you can make sure you're typing underneath it what your number is. So you square root of 16 would be 4. Okay, so button down here. You can also just use your keyboard, and then your answer shows up. All right, finding the answer. So whatever calculation you just did, your answer is over on the right side. Okay, it's in the same box. That's where your answers are always located. If you have more than one line, your answer will show up in that same line. Creating or using sliders. This one's actually pretty cool, and when we get to functions where you have to like substitute in some values, this is super helpful. So sometimes you're going to be given things that look like this, where it's like a times b plus c. Okay, once you type in your function, if it has letters that are not x and y, then you're going to have a function that says add a slider. Okay, if you don't have like an equals something, so let's just say it's a times b plus c, when you change the numbers, your answer will also change. So let's say if a was 4, b was -2, and c was 3. My answer would be -5. They got that? They just plugged in 4 for a, -2 for b, 3 for c. Okay, so type in the letters and you'll get an option to add a slider. Dividing fractions. So be careful with dividing fractions. My suggestion for you, let's say I wanted to do 1/3, and I'm going to cheat and use this symbol for a second just so we can see the answer. Oops, not 1/2. All right, so 1/2 divided by 1/3. My answer should be 1.5 or 1.5. Okay, if you're just typing stuff in, it gives you like a complex fraction, Notice we didn't get the same answer. So you need to be careful. My suggestion for you is create your fraction first. So it's the slash or the question mark button. Then you can type in your fraction on the top and your fraction on the bottom, and you'll get your correct answer. You only need to do that for division, because if I want to add, so let's say I have 1/2, I'm going to push the over arrow so it's at the end, and then I can just put plus whatever I want. Okay? If you don't want a decimal answer, then you just go and change that answer to a fraction. Okay? Because fraction problems should have fraction answers. Decimal problems should have decimal answers. Okay? Then the same thing would work subtracting. Same thing for multiplication. No matter what, it'll give you a decimal answer, and you can just change it to a fraction. So all of those are the same. Division's the different one because it looks like a complex fraction, where it's a fraction on top of another fraction. All right. So on the back, it says create a table. So there's a couple ways you can do it. One, click the plus, go down to table, and then you can just type in what you need. Okay. So like, if you're trying to recreate a table that was on your piece of paper, then you just click the plus and go to table. Later, we will learn, like, if we're given a function and you need to make a table from a line, then there's a different way to do it. So for now, just creating a table, click the plus, add a table. All right, if you, for whatever reason, can't, you're either too zoomed in, too zoomed out, and you just want to go back to the original settings, all you have to do is click over on the side here. Okay, there's the little home button, and it will take you back to the original thing. Convert a fraction to a decimal. This is probably the easiest of all of them. You just type in your fraction, and that's your decimal as your answer. Okay, so whatever your fraction is, type it in. The answer is your decimal. If you want to move the graph paper, some of you have touch screens. You can move it with your fingers. If not, just click and move your mouse pad around your trackpad, and you can drag to where you need to go. Taking the cube root. This one's hard to find, but it will be useful. So cube root, you're going to click on this little show keyboard. It is hidden over in functions. So functions, miscellaneous, n root, and then you can type the little 3 that you need, and then the number that you need inside. All right, if you need to make one line disappear, or just in general, sometimes this is going to be more helpful if you have a bunch of lines. To make one line disappear, you just click on the little colored circle over on the side, or you can make them all disappear. That's especially helpful later in the year when you're trying to decide if 2 lines are in the same place. So like one line is on top of the other. If you turn on and off these lines, you'll be able to see it like changing color. And it will be in the same place. All right, last few. Put a random exponent. So if you want an exponent, you can click down here. And then there's one that says a to the b power. Okay, so you would type your number first, click the a to the b power, and then type your exponent, and it will give you your answer. Or the keyboard fast way to do this, type your first number. So let's say you want to type 12, then push Shift and 6. And then you can type your exponent. So if you had to do 12 to the 5th power, you would type 12, and then Shift 6, which is the little up arrow called a caret, and then you can type your exponent. All right, zooming in and out, you can use your trackpad and kind of like pinch it or spread it out, you know how like you do on your phone. Or on the side here, there's a little plus and minus things. for zooming in and out. All right, last one. So to recreate this one, you can type in f of x. We'll talk about what that means later, and equals. Then there's a couple ways to do this. So just like fraction division, if you push the division first, then you can type in what you need. So I typed that on the top. 2 was just on the bottom. I'm going to put the over arrow so I have my plus 6 at the end. Another way you could do it, if you don't push the fraction first, you could type your function that's on the top, highlight the whole thing, and then hit divide. And your fraction will be all over it. Okay, you can also click at the end and then type what you need.